and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie, and I was asked to do this video of recommending some of my favorite audiobooks. As you guys know, or maybe you don't know, but this year has been all about audiobooks for me. I have completely fallen in love with listening to stories, and it has actually freed up a lot of my time and allowed me to devour so many more books this year than I have in past years. Now, there's a couple things that I learned before I was able to actually get into audiobooks, and it's always the question that people ask, or a couple questions that people ask. So one of the questions is, how do you concentrate on listening to the book as well as doing other things? So I listen to books while I'm driving in my car. I listen to books while I'm at work typing on my computer. I listen to books while I'm playing like app games, Fishdom and Candy Crush and things like that. You know, the trick is, for me, is that I have found a speed of narration that really is conversational to my ear and my brain. And my brain is like, yes, I can listen to this, because it's almost like listening to the television while you're doing something else, while you're on your computer and you have your television going, or if you're listening to music on a radio and you're doing something that has words and you're doing something else, cleaning or doing laundry or anything like that. So one of my key points is that you really need to find that speed in narration that is going to allow you to have your brain say to your ear, or your ears say to your brain, however the whole hearing thing goes, but so that your brain knows that you're just listening to something that you're trying to kind of visualize on your own. And sometimes it can be such an amazing journey. So I'm going to give you guys a pretty long list of books that I have found to be awesome to my ears and really put me into the stories that they involve. So the first one I'm going to recommend, and these are in no particular order whatsoever, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Making Up by Lucy Parker. I really enjoyed this book because the narrator really brought it home that these two characters were living in London and they both had British accents, and I did not feel that the trope for the story was what it was until the very end, and then it was described to me. So I loved that aspect of it. Next, I'm going to say listen to Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book is a YA contemporary novel that deals with a young man who has a run-in with the police, and it gives this balance of sort of a juvenile dealing with adult issues, but at the same time how he works it out by talking to the kids in his classes and talking, having a conversation with his teacher and the students that he goes to school with, as well as his parents and his sort of circle, and they all sort of discuss it, and he goes about finding a resolution to his issue and his problems that he has in this book. And I just thought it was a wonderful way to storytell this, and it's very broken down because it's sort of letters and it's also sort of a conversation within classes. So you have quite a few different characters that have speaking moments, but you only have one narrator, and she does a really, I believe it was a female, but whoever it was, the narrator for the story does a really good job of making sure that you know the different parts of this story. Next, I'm going to talk about The Controversial Princess and His True Queen by Jodi Ellen Malpas. This duet was absolutely amazing. This was a single narrator who really put me in the moments that these two characters were going through. One was British, so the female narrator kept her British accent on for this character, like on point. Then our male character was an American, and there are so many American accents, you really can't just talk about just one, but where she came from with this narration for an American accent, I could hear. I could be like, yep, that's somebody that came from the United States. What part of the United States? Very interesting, because he is a Hollywood actor. So he's actually had speech and dialect training, so he can sound like anyone. But the narrator made him sound very American, if you know what I mean. I think you do. I think you do. Next is going to be Beautiful Creatures by Garcia. And this is a special audiobook because this was a full cast of narrators as well as a full musical ensemble that goes along with it. This book is paranormal, and it really deals with sort of this historical, sort of southern feel to it, and it deals with witches and spells, but with their special powers of being witches, a lot of it has to do with music, and they made this music just bring to life this book, and I thought it was just as well written as it was adapted to the movies. So, yes, on that. Next is our Unscripted story by LAFOUR, and this one has an Irish character, and the narrator for our male character was just amazing. Butta. Oh my god, it, like, his voice soothed my soul, and I was just so into that character. In this book, you have two youngsters that meet, and then they fall in love, but then time and fate and just life happens to them, and they're pulled apart, and you get to see their journey trying to get back together, and if they get back together or if they have to stay apart. And it's just a beautiful story, but I really connected with this one because the male main character was Irish, and the narrator's Irish accent was amazing. Next I'm going to talk about is the Soul series, which is My Soul to Keep and Down to My Soul. And I have not read Refrain yet because it's not on audiobook, and I just haven't got a chance to read the physical copy of it. But this is by Kennedy Ryan, and these two characters just embodied everything. The two narrators for this story just embodied these characters and had me in the story like they were my friends, and like I was hearing a conversation that they were having. They were telling me their story. I could feel all of the emotions that were put into these two characters. It was just absolutely amazing, and I loved them. Next, we're going to talk about Mercy and Havoc by Deborah Anastasia. And these two books, another set of narrators that really embodied the characters, that made it the dark and gritty and just dirty. Just had that voice that just puts you in those, you know, moments with Havoc and with Mercy and what they were going through and what their journeys were, and it was just so amazing. I loved every single minute of both of those. I loved listening to them. It was like I devoured them. I couldn't put the audiobook down, and it was just great. Next, we're going to talk about Longshot by Kennedy Ryan. Now, this book is heavy. This book is very heavy. It deals with very heavy issues and topics, but the narrator, I believe this one's a dual narrator, and so a male and a female, they did an amazing job putting the emotion into this story. Now, Kennedy Ryan has an amazing writing style where she puts so much emotion into her books as is. I've read some of her books and I've listened to some of her books now, and I just love her writing, period. And then to find narrators that can emote that emotion that is on the page into someone's ear and make their mind just be with those characters, superb. Superb, superb, superb. Next, we're going to talk about The Mother Road by Meghan Quinn. And this book is a rom-com, and it's about a young lady's journey where they're trying to honor her mother by taking a road trip across the United States, and she ends up reconnecting with someone from her past, and the father was just absolutely hilarious. I didn't even get emotionally, I was emotionally connected through the entire book because it's a rom-com, but then I was like in tears just because of the emotions that were, tickling my ears by the end of the book, and it was just so good. It was so good. People ask me, why did you cry at the end of The Mother Road by Meghan Quinn? And I'm like, because I listened to it, and it was just that emotional to me because the narrator made it that emotional for me. Another book that I think is better listened to than like ever, because I don't think I would have made it through this book without having it narrated to me. Now, mind you, I did listen to this one on CDs. And for you youngsters that don't know what CDs are, those are those round things that you put into a CD player, and then it goes around and it projects onto a radio. Yeah. So, Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I would have never been able to make it through this book without listening to the narration, because there are so many words and so much Gaelic in that story that I would have gotten lost in the sauce and would have given up and been like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. But I listened to it, and it really made me love this story because it was read to me. And I can just imagine what the rest of the book and rest of the books and the series is. But I'm so in love with the television show that I'm just like, I'll just deal with the television show instead of trying to read those 800-page books. There's like 8 of them. Yep. The Color Purple by Alice Walker is the next book that I'm going to talk about. Now, this book is amazing to read. It's amazing to listen to. It's amazing to watch on screen. This is one of my favorite books of all time. When you get this narration, you need to make sure that you get the narration that is narrated by Alice Walker, because she just emits and emotes Seeley to the utmost, and it will have your heart just, you feel every single emotion that Seeley feels. And I can watch that movie and listen to this book and read this book over and over again and feel every single time I hear it. I mean, just amazing. Amazing, amazing. Next book I'm going to talk about is The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, I tried to read this book three times before I finally was able to get the audiobook from my library. And I listened to this one on CDs as well, so I wasn't able to like speed it up. But you know what? Just hearing the narration in audiobook form was enough for me, because that narrator hits all of those sarcastic and quirky and sassy and scientific tones that are needed to make this book enjoyable. And then I watched the movie, and it was just like, the book came to life for me. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Next, we're going to talk about the Wayward Pines series by Blake Crouch. And I listened to this book back when I first started listening to audiobooks. And I was not a horror fan. Not a horror fan at all. I decided to pick up this series because I wanted to watch the television show. Or I had started watching the television show and I wanted to know like the backstory of the books. I can't remember which order it came in, but I did read the books and watch the television series. Loved both. Loved the little changes that they made from the books to the movie. And the only thing that I didn't like was the ending for the books versus the ending for the TV show. I kind of wanted the TV show to continue on, but they cut it and didn't bring it back. Thanks, Fox. But yes. It was so just dark and horror field. I mean, I believe I had like a few nightmares while I was reading this book and was like, ooh, this is quite scary. This is like horror at its best. And I don't do horror. I don't do horror at all. I don't watch horror movies. I'm not a horror fan whatsoever. I'm not going to nobody's haunted house, nothing. But this book had me like drawn in and just there with those characters. Ugh, absolutely amazing. And then the final book I'm going to talk about is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Now this book, I think the only reason I continued to listen on to it, even though I had no clue what was going on for like 70% of the book, I was lost in the sauce, was because of the narrator. The narrator's voice had me just like drawn in and kept me listening to this book. I was like, I gotta know what happens. And then by the end of the book, I was like, oh, what? Yes, I need the new book because I need to know what's gonna happen next. So those are some of my favorite audiobooks. Have you listened to any of those? What did you think about the narration? Because I know everyone's ear is completely different. It's just like reading styles or television watching styles or movie liking styles. Everyone has an opinion on everything, so let me know down in the comments what you thought about my picks for some of my favorites. If you have any that you want to suggest, please suggest them to me because I am always looking for a new audiobook to listen to. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys later.